think where I went wrong is I go to the range trying to make it feel a certain way, because if it felt good the day before, you want it to feel the same way today. But it just doesn't work like that, you know. So sometimes it does. Sometimes a feel will hang around for a few days, but it never hangs around very long. Especially good ones, they seem to disappear quick. And in the old days, I'd try to chase that old feel for, I mean, it could be a month. You know, it felt great that day, so why can't I make it feel like that again? But I mean, every day you wake up, you're going to feel different. It's going to be different. It's never going to feel the same. So now I'm more about hitting balls. Okay, that's how it feels today. Let's play with that feel, you know, like more about, almost try to be an observer rather than a participant, you know what I mean? Just observe how it feels when I'm playing today, because it's going to feel different every day, so you can't make it feel a certain way. It's going to feel how it feels. So I just try to pay attention to that, you know. Some days it works and some days it doesn't, but more days have been good since I've been letting it feel how it wants to feel, you know. It's silly. I mean, this game, it's the harder you try to make it right, the worse it is. You know, it's weird. The less I try, you know, the more I just let the part of my brain and my body that actually really knows what it's doing, but I don't think it does. The more I trust that and give that its due and say, hey, I'll give you a chance here. It actually, for the most part, my instinct is much right. It's much smarter, better at golf than I am, you know. Just got to get out of his way.
Okay, 152, little downwind. I've got a slight downslope here. You know, half of golf is being aware of the situation that you put yourself into or that you find your ball in. That obviously the lie, the stance, and also the conditions are very, very important. You have to take these into consideration every time you go out and play and every shot that you faced. And like, for example, here, you know, I'm slightly on a downhill, which is going to take a little bit of loft off the club. I want to address this ball just a slightly different to the way I would normally do it, which is get my left shoulder down a little bit, try and get the club to chase down the slope a little bit longer. And then I'm going to take into consideration I've got the wind behind. So when you factor those things in, you make your club selection. And I've normally hit my 8-iron about 145 to 150. I've got 152 here. It's probably a little too far for me to muscle my 9-iron. The wind's not quite strong enough. So I'm going to try and take a little bit off this 8-iron. And also, depending on where the pin is, strategy, again, is such a huge part of the game. The pin's a little bit on the left-hand side. I feel like this wind's blowing a little left to right and helping, so I'm going to try and hit this straight at the flag. If I hit it really solidly, it'll hold its line really well in the wind and probably won't fall off too much. But if I miscue this a little bit, hopefully it's going to fall to the right and leave me about a 20-foot putt, you know, just short or pin-high right. There, it's coming back on the windy. So once you make all those decisions, you know, you really have to commit yourself to the shot. Go out there. If you have any seed of doubt, when you get over the ball, back off it. Go back, regroup, put the club back in the bag if that's what makes you happy, and start all over again. And I remember Billy Casper was probably the greatest one, being able, if he had his pre-shot routine disrupted at any time, he'd put the club back in the bag and start all over again. So that's an important thing.
Don't allow the architect to really dictate your shots. The great thing about golf is you've got the options are all yours, and in this case he gave us a dogleg right, but that doesn't mean you have to play a fade. If you're not comfortable with a fade, now obviously in my case hitting a fade to a left to right dogleg is perfect, but for a guy that likes to hook the ball and he's been hooking it well all day, stand up here and hit your hook. Forget about what the architect's done with this hole and play your favorite shot. Play the one you're comfortable with. And this one should be one I'm very comfortable with. Downwind, left to right hole, aiming down the left side of the rough. It wasn't a real solid shot, but it's going exactly where I wanted it to. Down the right side of the fairway again. It seems like I spend most of my time in the right side of the fairway, but that's okay. To the 4-iron, the yardage to the middle of the green is 195, and that's where the pin happens to be, but that's probably where I'd be hitting this shot no matter where the pin is. There's a lot of trouble on this hole, anything left of the green is in the water, and in this case, you're carrying it over the water. If you hit it in the water, you're going to have to drop here, and you're looking at pretty much an automatic double bogey. I want to take the water out of play. That means I'm shooting away from the pin. Again, nowhere near the pin. I'm going to be to the right side of the green, and yardage-wise, I'm going to hit to the middle of the green, no matter where the pin is. 195, and I'm hitting a 4-iron. I've also got right to left wind blowing towards the lake, so I'm going to allow for that wind. I'm not going to do anything in my swing to fight that wind. I'm just going to aim the ball different and let the wind work with it. Started right at the right edge of the green, and I'm on the green, and I'm about 40 feet away, and you know what? That's okay. That is okay. You know, every golf course gives you opportunities to make birdies, and every golf course has opportunities to make big numbers. This is the kind of hole where you can make a double or a triple bogey real quick, and you play these kind of holes for a par or bogey and wait for a couple of holes until they give you a birdie chance. Almost every golf course does, but don't get greedy on a hole like this. And I'm going to have to work hard for a par, but I'm not going to make any worse than bogey.
I mean, what the hell are you doing? So what? You don't need to do that. I mean, that's not your shot. Play your shot. Now, you're saying this looks like a fade. Why? You're a perfect drawer of the golf ball. Use your advantage. Use the draw. Never play a shot unless you have to. I learned that from Trevino. I mean, he was dead right. I could just, because I could have hit a draw down there as well. I could have hit it down the right-hand side with a draw and been perfect. But because the hole shaped this way, in your mind, it just looked like that was the way you had to play. But no, draw.
Think about what are my tendencies. You know, my tendency when it's way uphill is to want to kind of hang back and let the club or help the ball get up in the air. You know, so it's something that I think about is trying to make sure I make a good swing, not helping the ball in the air, letting the loft of the club do that, and just going ahead and finishing a normal swing. But it's very difficult to do it. The subconscious is such a powerful thing in all of us. You know, if the hole goes right, you want to go right. If it goes left, you want to hit it left. If it's uphill, you want to help it, you know. And so you have to really get real focused on just what exactly it is that you want to do to overcome your subconscious. Okay, so this one here is way uphill, so it's relaxed grip, smooth takeaway, good tempo, good balance, and just rip it.
But you have to trust. You've got to trust that you're not going to hit it and make a good swing at it. The commitment is half the battle.
Draw in here is pretty much the play and try to skip it back there. It's kind of the shot I'm going to try to hit.
That'll work right there, boys.
That was good. That was exactly what my thought process was. That was as good as I can do there. But that's what you got to do. You got to, when you get to the tee, you talk about what's important. Pre-shot routine is very important. Visualizing what kind of shot you want to hit. What's visualize mean? Well, I mean, it's, okay, I want to cut this shot, or I want to hook this shot, or I want to hit it straight. But I think the biggest problem that a lot of good players get into is that when you get to certain shots, you kind of, your mind goes blank, and we all do it. And next thing you know, you're hitting a shot, and you hit an awful shot, and you're going, why did I just do that? It's because you didn't think about what you're trying to accomplish, the shot you're trying to accomplish. I told you exactly what I wanted to do, and I pulled it off, you know? And this is a game. You don't know if you're ever going to pull off every shot, but every now and then you may get lucky.
So once you make all those decisions, you know, you really have to commit yourself to the shot. Go out there. If you have any seed of doubt, when you get over the ball, back off it. go back, regroup, put the club back in the bag if that's what makes you happy, and start all over again. And I remember Billy Casper was probably the greatest one, being able, if he had his pre-shot routine disrupted at any time, he'd put the club back in the bag and start all over again. So
my routine is to always take a practice swing by the ball and then to come behind it, pick my target out, and let it go. I hit my target.
Stationary too long. Very few players have ever been successful for a long period of time that got over the ball, finally your club's behind it, and then were frozen. So keeping some kind of movement going, whether it's, you know, moving your feet a little bit or waggling. I like personally waggling the club head, and probably a combination of the feet moving and waggling. So when you're working on a waggle or something that will help you start the swing, it should be a mini rehearsal of this takeaway or some thought of a kind of impact position. And if you'll do that on the right pace and the right tempo, it will help your whole swing have a better tempo.
I'm somewhere in the just about 100 yards. It's downwind, so it won't play 100, but that's a nice, soft sand wedge. I don't have to hit it real hard. The wind's going to help it get on up there, so I'm going to play this about 85 or a 90-yard shot. And the wind should carry it another 10 yards, and hopefully I can put this close to the hole. He's given us a pretty easy pin placement here right in the middle of the green, so I don't have any real concerns left or right of the pin. I can just concentrate on the distance, making good contact. That's pretty much the way I envisioned it, and that's the way it came out. That's what, lucky when the shot turns out the way you see it in advance. And speaking of that, that's a pretty important part. I talked to my son Steven this weekend at a junior tournament about how important it is to visualize a shot. And the best place to do it is from behind the ball. And in that case, getting behind the ball, you know you've got 100 yards, you know the club you're going to hit, and then you actually watch the ball go up, you watch it land. And in my case, I've got a funny deal. When I'm over the shot and I'm just about ready to pull the trigger, I can't describe it much better than an out-of-body experience. My spirit or mind goes out, and I actually look down at myself making the swing that I want to make. And that's a very strange deal, and that's not even a perfect way of describing it, but that's the best way I can describe it. Is once I'm over the ball and I'm just ready to pull the trigger, I actually am looking down at myself, make the swing, and I've already envisioned what the shot's going to be. And in this case, it turned out I'm about 6 or 7 feet from the hole.
I'm going to take it just off the corner of the bunker and maybe fade it just a little bit, make sure I'm just left of the tree. I should be able to get probably past the tree today. So for me, I'm just gonna get focused in on that tree that's way out through the fairway. I'm gonna see my ball flight going there. And I actually do a little routine where I say, see, feel, trust. And I kind of talk to myself through my routine. So, you know, I pull my glove twice to kind of start my routine. Get in here, I take a little practice swing. And when I'm doing that, I'm really getting focused out on my target. And I'm seeing that ball flight, I'm feeling the swing that matches what I'm seeing. So then I walk into it, line my club face up to an intermediate spot. I tuck my shirt under my armpit, just something I've done to kind of keep my arm and body connected. I'm not thinking about it when I'm swinging. And then I say see. And that means I'm seeing that ball flight going where I want it to go. And I say feel. Now I'm feeling the swing that's going to match what I see and feel. And then I say trust. And I hit it just off the corner of the bunker and cut it right over there. Maybe I should talk out loud all the time when I play.
But the problem is that's the power of suggestion. I just talked about that, I pictured it, and then my body did it. So again, more reasons for not having negative thoughts. That's almost exactly what you'd picture not wanting to do. So I wouldn't really think about that much. And I guess it brings me to another tip. shots like this, even shorter, 20 yard, 30 yard. One of the great things to aim at is the top of the flag. Picture a basket on top of the flag, or a basketball hoop or something. If you try, that's a good place to aim, even if you're around the green playing the flop shots. If being short is going to be bad, pick something that's, you always say, well, pick past the hole. No, I like to think about dropping it right straight down on top of the flag. And will you do it? Not very often, but at least it's a great visual. And if I miss, maybe I'll miss a little long.
My tempo is off in all aspects of my game. I literally will walk slower. I'll take that extra second to decide what club to hit. I'll try to slow things down just enough to where I can catch up and try to make everything just a little bit smoother and a little bit longer, but give myself time. In other words, just slow it down. And in putting, it really shows, because if your stroke is just infinitesimally shorter, then you're going to be infinitesimally more, have an opportunity to jerk the ball offline or push it offline, and there's where you're putting.